Welcome to Maximizing Your Time and Increasing Student Satisfaction with Canvas Assignments. We're going to have everyone muted so we can get through the presentation. We do have just about 45 minutes to get through it all. If you have questions, we ask that you go ahead and throw it into the chat. We have a moderator who's going to be able to answer those questions or speak up if the questions need to be answered by everybody. We're going to go over assignments, all the details in the assignments, all the settings that you can make, and then how those assignments build into the gradebook. So what I'm going to do is open a tab into my Sandbox, and we'll get started. All right, so this is my Sandbox, and it'll look a little bit different than yours because I have a ton of different things that I've done inside my Sandbox. But basically on the left-hand side, you have your global navigation, you have your course navigation, and then you have your content area and some options on the right. And this is pretty consistent throughout Canvas. So if you ever hear us refer to that, that's what those things are. Over here on the left-hand side, you can arrange your navigation to anything you want under your settings in the navigation tab. I've done mine in alphabetical order so I can find things real quick. So assignments is right here. I'm going to go ahead and open up assignments. If it's the first time you've ever opened assignments, this page will be relatively blank. As you can see, I already have a bunch of assignments and a bunch of assignment groups, which we'll talk about today. So when you start to set up your assignments in your class, the one thing you want to think about, of course, is your syllabus and, of course, how you have your class planned out throughout the semester. If in your syllabus, like most of us have, you have assignment groups where you have certain groups are worth certain percentages. For example, your testings may be worth 15% of your total. Your assignments or your homework may be worth 50% of your total, and those kind of things. And that's what assignment groups will do for you. You can put your different assignments, and that you can put more than just assignments in groups. You can put assignments and quizzes, discussions. You can put them all into weighted groups and then weigh out your grade as you need to. So to set up groups ahead of time, what you want to go ahead and do is put the plus group button here, and you can give it a title and the percentage of the grade. Once you've set up all of your groups like this, and you'll create, how many ever you need, you'll go here to the three dots, and you'll look underneath assignment group weights. There you can see all the groups that you've created and their percentages, and you can adjust them accordingly. If you want to change this, you accidentally typed 55 and you meant 50, you can easily change that here. But the thing you want to click is this checkbox here, and that means, yes, I want my groups weighted. And then down at the bottom, of course, you want to make sure this adds up to 100%. When you're all satisfied with that, you click Save, and then you'll have your groups all set up with all their percentages here. Your groups at this point would be empty, and so as you start creating activities, whether it's assignments, discussions, or quizzes, you can put them into these groups, and I'll show you how to do that as we create assignments. The other thing to realize is that as you create activities, assignments, groups, assignments, discussions, or quizzes, anything that's graded is going to be added automatically to your gradebook, and that's how you build out your gradebook, is actually by creating the activities. Once you've created all the activities and put them in their groups, if you have groups and weights, Canvas will do all of the math for you, and it'll give you their totals. One thing to note, though, is in the gradebook, the total at the end is the total that they currently have. So a quick example would be, let's say you have 10 assignments worth 100 points apiece. That's a total of 1,000 points, right? Well, if it's only 2 weeks into the semester and they've only done 2 assignments, then they have currently only done 2 out of 100. Let's say they got an 80 and a 90, then their score would be an 85. And that's their current score because they've only done 2 assignments. So they've got, and that's just a running current score. When you get to the end of the semester, your current score should match your total score, which you would only see in a grade export if you've done all your grading. And we can answer questions about that at the end if you have more questions about that. But let's go ahead and create an assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and click this big blue button up here, plus assignment. And that plus and blue button is consistent throughout Canvas. So you'll see plus assignment or plus discussion if you're in the discussion pages, or you'll see plus quiz if you're in the quiz pages. So here we have our assignment, and you'll notice there's a ton of different options that we can choose. And as you choose some of these options, you'll even be prompted to fill out more options. So we're going to go through each one of these. So your assignment title makes sense. So we're going to go ahead and call this one my training assignment. And then down here, this is called the rich content editor. And this is this format table here and all of your options. So this is where you would put your directions for the assignment. Now this could be simple text and you can just type out your directions. You can type, multiple lines. You can make things bold and underline. You can change the font sizes and you can get as creative as you want to get inside here. There are ways to add, as you go further down, you can change the text colors and the highlight colors, but just be careful when you're changing text colors that you do pay a little attention to ADA requirements. You need to have a good contrast. So don't put yellow on a white background, that kind of thing. Make sure they're darker colors on this white background. You can put in here links. So we do have external links and course links. Now, external links would be something like a URL, right? If you wanted to link out to nasa.gov, you would go to that website, copy that URL, and then come underneath here under external links, and you could type, NASA's website, and you could just paste the link in to anything you want and click done. And then you'll notice that here NASA website comes up because that's the text I gave it. And it would be a hyperlink out to that URL. Let's skip down a line. So the other one underneath here is course links. Now this is if you want to link to other places or other things in your course. So if I click course links, I'll get this pop-up over here on the right-hand side. And I can link to other things in my course. So if you want to link to a page because you want to provide some context, like you've created a page of the information that you want them to read, you can link straight to a page. So you would open a page and then pick the page you want to link it to. If this assignment refers back to a previous quiz, you could even link back to a previous quiz for them to reference. And you just pick the quiz here. The most people, what they do is they link out to pages in this context. You can also link to files that you have already uploaded into your course. So you can see here, it would list the files for your course. If I click on course files, you can see all the files that I have. And if I just click on like a picture, it will insert the picture for me. Okay, when I'm done with that, I can just close the little pop out and go back to my rich content editor. So you can see it quickly inserted a picture. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this for the sake of space and come back over here. Now, sometimes if you adjust the page, that pop-out comes out, this whole options here will get truncated. So you see now it's really small and you got this divider line. Everything is still there. It's just under the 3 dots. So we'll just move on to the next one. So we have the ability to insert images here. If I want to upload an image or if I want to do a course image, I can choose. So I'm going to say upload image. And if I choose this, it's just exactly what you think it is. You can browse your computer for an image file, or you could drag it into this window and drop it, and it would just insert the picture. Or if I just click on it, I can search anywhere in my pictures, say open, and it'll insert this picture for me. Canvas also has a relationship with Unsplash. And so you could look at it here and you could search for any kind of pictures you want. And you could find a bunch of pictures of puppies. Down here, though, we definitely want to put in an alt text. This is for screen readers, for students who need that. So if I were to choose this picture here, I would type something, cute picture of terrier puppy. And that way they could, someone who had a screen reader would know exactly what the picture looks like. You could go in as much detail as you want. You could type in, brown faced, white nose, all that kind of stuff to give more descriptive. If the picture is just decorative, meaning it has absolutely no contextual implications with what you're doing, if it's like just some twirly lines or something like that, and it's not important, you can check decorative image, and that way the screen reader will just read decorative image and skip right over it because it's not important to the student to get the assignment done. Lastly, you can choose to embed the image or display it as a text link, and that's exactly what it looked like before. When you saw that picture I inserted, it was actually in the page. That's embedding, and then a link would literally just be that, and they would click on the link to see the picture elsewhere. So I'm going to choose embed and leave the picture here and say submit. and it inserts this picture here. You can click on the picture and go down here, and you can see these little handlebars, these little blocks in the corners. That'll allow you to resize the picture. So if I drag it up and drag this one over here, there I've been able to resize the picture to something more reasonable. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of this picture now and keep going down the list. So that's embedding images. Here, it's the same idea. You have media. So if I click the down arrow here, I can choose course media, which means I already have the movie or the audio file in my course folder, and I can choose it there, or I can choose to upload and record a media directly into it. If I choose this option, I can hit, again, drag and drop it here, or click on this rocket ship and choose the media file from my computer. Or Canvas already has a built-in recorder in it, so I can come in here and say record, and I get a pop-up that says, am I allowed to use your microphone and webcam? So I say allow, and then this opens up here, and it would, if I had my camera on, you would see a picture of me, and you can notice that the audio is bouncing to let me know that's working. I can click webcam if I wanted to choose an external webcam or something different than the what it auto-picked, and I can start recording. This allows me to record quickly right into Canvas. I don't have to have any extra stuff. I don't have to have any software. And I can record it into here, and it'll embed it for me. One of the new updates is if you record that video into this RCE right here, it will also put a copy of that video in your course folders. So if you're doing this for multiple courses, you could just copy that, get that video file and move it over to your other courses, download it to your computer, move it over to other courses, and you don't have to re-record for all the different courses. Now that may only work if you're teaching, several sections of the same course and you haven't cross-listed them. The next option we have is documents. So if I click the down arrow here, I can go straight to course documents. Again, this is anything that says course documents or course images or course media, then that means it's a file that you've already uploaded into your course files for the. Otherwise, I click upload document. And again, I can drag and drop it here or click on it, and it will allow me to search my computer for that document. That document that will be linked just like this one here with text and will be uploaded to your course files so that you can see, you can have it for later reference. We do have Box integrated directly into Canvas too. So if I click on Box and it's the first time, you would click Login to Box. It'll pop up and you have your options here. You want to choose single sign-on. That's what we do at SMU. So we'll click single sign-on. It'll ask for your email address because it wants to know where you're signing on from. And when you authorize it, it'll pull up your normal SSO if you have not logged in the background, but you should already be because you're inside Canvas. And as long as you grant access, then you can then select a file from Box directly. And when you click it, you'll see a listing of all of your files inside Box. Now, the most common question I get is, if I put this Box link in here, are students going to see my Box link or anything like my Box files or anything? They're only going to see this file that you link. So I'm going to cancel out of that. But you can link directly from Box. You do not have to upload everything. And we highly recommend this for large files. So if you have a huge PowerPoint file, that's 500, 600 megabytes, or you have a media file, things like that, that you want to use, we definitely recommend that you put it in Box because there is a file limit to your Canvas course. And we are very hesitant to increase that file limit because that file limit is shared amongst everyone at SMU. So if you have large PowerPoint files, we definitely recommend you use Box. If you have video files or large audio files, we definitely recommend that you use Panopto, which is our media sponsored software here at SMU. So if I wanted to insert a Panopto file, which is usually a video file, I can click on the Panopto icon and it will open Panopto and show me all the videos that I have in Panopto. So here I have the ones that I've already created. If I had a new file, I could upload it directly to Panopto in here. The advantage of uploading video files to Panopto, why we recommend it over Box, is that Panopto will work in the background to closed caption it for you. It is machine closed captioning, which means it's about 80% accurate or so. So we recommend that you look over the closed captionings, especially if you're using $12 words and very specific words or foreign languages, things like that. The hard scientists with the Latin, and if you're teaching French or whatever, you definitely want to look at the closed captioning because it's not going to catch all that. You could also record directly into Panopto, but I don't recommend you do that here. I recommend you record into the Panopto option itself from the course menu and not from in here. But if I chose one, I could click on it, and I have several embedding options that I can choose from. Aspects, ratios, sizes, things like that, whether or not to show a tile or, autoplay it when they come onto this page. There's just some options from you to choose from. This is all personal preference. I always just leave the default because it's usually what I need. So I'm just going to click insert, and you can see that it inserts this file here. And there is my video. Okay. Let me go ahead and get rid of that for the sake of space. And get rid of this. Okay. So the next option we have is all of our other plugins. So we have Box and Panopto sitting here on the taskbar, but we do have other options. So if I say view all, I can say all of the options that we have. So I'm just going to run through them real quick. Box we've talked about. Commons is something that exists in Canvas where other teachers have shared their materials. And that exists. You can see it's grayed out down here because I've got a pop-up, but it's down here in the corner. And it's basically teachers have shared assignments they've created, quizzes they've created, whole modules they've created, even whole courses they've created. So if you ever get to a point where you're stuck in your course and you think, okay, how do I spice up this assignment? Or maybe I needed something a little different. You can search Commons for the things that you might be looking for. And you can pare it down as well, like search only for higher education materials, only for things in biology, and I'm only really looking for assignments. You can do all those filters, only look at assignments in there. So if you have something favorited inside Commons, you could click this and it would show you your favorites and you can pick which one you want. Films on Demand works with our library. We do have a bunch of films that we have purchased or are copyright free in our library. So if you have some of those, you can choose from the Films on Demand there. You can work with a librarian to find out what is available to you. We do have GitHub if you do some coding. Panopto we've talked about is our media platform, mainly for videos. PlayPosit is a way to, you can put things on top of videos like interactions. Like if you want to pause the video and point something out in text, you could do that. If you wanted to create a video quiz, you could use either Panopto or PlayPosit to create quizzes. And you could put in here like survey questions, things like that. So PlayPosit would go on top of a video to do some things like that. Reach out to your ATSD for more details on the difference between PlayPosit and Panopto quizzing. We do have Twitter, embedding images, and some YouTube stuff that you can embed here as well. Moving down the list, these are format functions, about spacing and centering. You have bulleted lists and indentations. We can easily, clear all the formatting. If you seem to have got something messed up, you can't figure it out, you can highlight it and clear all that formatting out. Or like if you've copied and pasted from another website or something, sometimes the formatting will come in all weird or really huge. You can just highlight it and clear the formatting out. You can put in a table. So if you build out a table here, you can say, okay, I want a 4x4 or 3x3 table, and you can build out a table as necessary, and you can format things inside the table as well. We do have a math equation editor. This works off of LaTeX. If you're familiar with that, you can pick and choose the object. So if you want to say E and then go over to equals, and you can do you can pick different options and operators as you go through here. Or if you know how to type in LaTeX, if you know that code, you can switch to advanced and just type in all the LaTeX code and it will fill it out for you. It will take that and you say insert equation and it shows up here as a picture. Well, the new upgrade though is with the picture. Before, once you were done. And you couldn't edit that. Now you can click on it and say edit equation and it'll open it back up and you can edit it. So let's say if you got some of that LaTeX code wrong, you can fix it now. So that's been a huge upgrade because before it was one and done, but now you can edit those equations. And so lastly, you have embed code. This works really well if you've used YouTube and you grab their embed code off their YouTube page, you can choose that embed code, paste it in here, and we'll embed what you're looking for right into the rich content editor here. All right, so moving down, there's a lot of options down here, keyboard shortcuts. One of the big ones I want to point out is the accessibility checker. If you click on this little guy in a circle here, it will do a quick review of everything you've put into the RCE and give you any suggestions if things may not be great accessibility-wise. If your colors are off, or maybe your fonts there are too many fonts, or maybe you forgot to put alt text on a picture, this accessibility checker will help you with those kind of things. The next thing that's really worthy of pointing out is the switch to HTML editor. If you click this, you will come up to the code that you have created by inserting all those different things. So like this is our this table width here. This is all of our creating that table. Up here earlier, we set the font size to a different size, and we put in bold, which is called strong in the HTML. So if you know HTML or you need to make some edits in the code, that's what this little icon here is for. So all you got to do is keep clicking on that same icon, and you can switch back and forth. All right, so that is everything with the rich content editor and all of the things that you can make changes to. All right. So if we move down here, this is where we get into the meat of creating your assignment. So now you've come in and you know that, okay, I want to grade this assignment. Typical is points, right? This assignment will be worth 100 points for me. I want to put it into my assignments category. Remember we created those groups earlier, right? We have the different groups that can be weighted differently. So here's where you can choose those groups that you've already set up. If you get into this and you realize that you forgot a group, or this is the first time you want to create a group, you can click on new group and create a group right from here. You'll definitely want to go back to the assignments page and make sure that you've weighted them all correctly, but you can create a group here. There are several different kind of grading options. Points is the most common, right? That's what we're all used to. You got 80 out of 100, that kind of thing. But you do have percentages, so you can type in directly, they got a 60%. You can do complete, incomplete. Now with complete, incomplete, whatever you set your point value to, say this is just like a little 5-point assignment. If you mark them complete, they get 5. If they get incomplete, they get 0. So it's all or nothing with complete, incomplete. You can do letter grades, but with letter grades, you have to have a grading scheme. Now we've set up the SMU's default grading scheme into Canvas for you. So as long as you're using the SMU one, you could just go right ahead with that. But if you want to set up your own grading scheme, you could do manage grading schemes, and you could set up your own and change these references to match anything that you might want them to be. When you do that, you can type in a letter grade as opposed to putting in 80%, you could type in a B. Or if you got into real detail, you could do B minus, that kind of thing. We really don't use GPA scale too much at SMU, so I'm going to skip that. And you can do a non-graded assignment. What this allows you to do is just kind of like you're kind of checking the pulse of your students, or you want them to turn in a little bio because you want to learn more about them, but you don't want to grade them on it. That's what non-graded is for. So I'm going to keep this simple here and leave it at points right now. You do have this final option to say do not count towards final grade. This is great if you want to give them an assignment, let's say like a rough draft, for example, and you want to grade them because you want them to know how they're doing, but you don't actually want it to count towards their final grade. You can check this box and it will not count it won't be part of the denominator when it's doing the math and the final grades. Down here, we have our different submission types. The most common, of course, is online with assignments. You're expecting the student to submit something, whether it's a PowerPoint or a PDF or a Word document or Excel document, anything like that. You can have them do online, and you want them to do a file upload. And that will allow them to, that'll give them a prompt when they go to submit the assignment to browse their computer and upload the file that you're looking for. If you want to, you can restrict the file type so that you don't get a bunch of different like Word doc and docx, and then you could get the old school Word files and PDFs. If you want to specifically tell them that, and definitely want to put this in the directions if this is what you're going to do, is tell them if you just want PDF files, then you can do that. Or if you say, I'll take PDF and doc and docx files, but that's all I'll take. Definitely put that in the instructions so that they know. but this is how you would restrict it. So if they tried to upload, like a pages document from, then it would not allow them to, because it's not the right file type. I'm going to go ahead and take that off. You can choose to let them upload other things. So if you want to do media recordings, you can click this button and they'll get that same box prompt that we saw earlier, where they can either upload a media file or they could record directly into it as the assignment. Website URLs, what that'll do is just give them a box, and all they can do is paste in a URL, and that's all they can put in there. So if you're having them create web pages and things like that as part of their assignment for class, they'll submit the website URL to you so that you can look at it. And then the other option is text entry. What text entry allows them to do, it gives them basically this same RCE that we were working with earlier, and it allows them to copy and paste and do all the formatting and all that stuff that we did earlier, embed files and pictures and that kind of stuff. It'll give them all those options. So for us today, we're going to choose file upload because this is the most common. So we're going to have them upload, let's say like a Word document or something like that for this assignment. So down here, because I've got file upload, we now have the option to allow attempts. So normally this is unlimited, which means they can upload the document on Monday, and as long as the assignment is still open and available, they can continue to upload. So you may end up with a student who uploaded 2 or 3 times because they uploaded it the first time and then they realize they forgot the conclusion to the paper. So then they go and upload it again. And then they realize, oh, I need to change something. And then they upload it a 3rd time. They can do this over and over and over. You'll see all their different uploads in the Speedgrader. But for example, if you want to restrict the number of attempts that they have, you can say, well, I'm going to limit them to 2 attempts or 1 attempt. Whichever you choose, and this is just a total preference based off the assignment that you're trying to give and the purpose you're trying to accomplish. You can let them upload unlimited times as long as the assignment is open, or you can say, nope, you only get 1 chance at this during the time that the assignment is available. So that's a personal preference there. Because we chose file upload, like let's say we're having them submit a paper, you would also get the same option if you did a text upload, right? A text entry. You now have the ability to choose plagiarism detection. So we use Turnitin here at SMU. So you could choose Turnitin. And when you choose this, you'll have all these options here. I pretty much don't mess with many of these options, but the one thing I will look at is these repository options. So the standard paper repository will put the paper they submit into SMU's folder and Turnitin's larger folder that checks all universities and repositories that they have. You can choose to restrict it to the institution's repository if you want. So you're only then checking that paper against other SMU papers that we've had since we've had Turnitin. So this is the least used one. The standard repository is more effective because then it will allow you to put this paper in the greater one. So if Emory is using this or Yale is using this, it'll also check against their papers. And the last one is do not submit these papers. This option is great for do not submit if you're doing a rough draft, because you could still check the rough draft for plagiarism, but you're not submitting the paper to the repository so that when they come around to doing their final draft, it won't match out at 100%. If you were doing rough draft, final draft, and you submitted the rough draft to the main repository, as soon as they submitted their final, it would be like 100% plagiarized because they're checking against their own paper they already submitted. So you want to check, do not submit the paper if it's a rough draft. You'll still get a score back on whether or not they themselves plagiarized, but at least the final draft won't be checked against itself. Other reasons you may not want to submit it is that this may not be, a high-end paper that you want submitted to the repository. So those are your options there: standard repository, institutional repository, and do not submit to the repository. These other options here, I pretty much leave alone. I don't mess with them. If you want to get into those details, definitely check with your ATSD. Down here, you have the option to show the plagiarism report. So you'll get a report that'll tell you, well, this is like 20% plagiarized, or it's 90% plagiarized, and you'll be able to click on that report and go into Turnitin and see what things were plagiarized. I highly recommend you doing that because sometimes they'll have put the things in quotes and it will still match up as being plagiarized because it is a quote. And it's just the way it got formatted that it checks it. But you do have the option to choose whether or not to show these reports to the students. Sometimes you do want to show it to them. You want them to understand that you're checking and this is what happened. Other times you don't want to show it to them because if you're going to have multiple submissions or you're going to do this, it's a rough draft, final draft, you may not want to show it to them because then they can game the system and realize, oh, well, they caught this plagiarism here, and they can fix it and resubmit it and fix it and resubmit it if you allow for multiple attempts. So again, this is an option you'll have to decide on whether or not to show them the report immediately or maybe after the assignment's graded, or maybe you don't want to show it to them at all. So options there. If you were to set this whole assignment up as a group assignment, that's what our next space is. If you click this and say, okay, I want to set it up as a group assignment, you then have the option to whether or not to give a grade to each individual student or to give the same grade to the entire group. So you could choose that option here. If you've already set up your groups, you could simply choose the group that you want. It's actually, you want to choose the group set. So to be really clear about groups, you first set up a group set, and that's the title that you give these groups, and then you set up the individual groups underneath that. That way you can have multiple group sets, a group assignment for this and a different set of groups for that and a different set of groups for the final, that kind of thing. So you might have different group sets. So if I choose my group set here, then I've already got my groups set up. That's why I can see them here. If I wanted to choose a new group, I would choose new group category, and I would go through the process of creating my group set and my groups right here. Groups has a ton of options. Like, do you let the students self-assign themselves? Are you going to set up the groups and assign the students to groups manually? Or do you just want Canvas to auto set up groups? You say, okay, well, I want 5 groups with 4 students in each, and you could click go, and Canvas will just throw students randomly into the groups. You could choose all those options. But I'm not going to make this a group assignment for the sake of some other options down below. So I'm going to uncheck this, but do know that's available, and you can assign the grade to everybody in the group individually, or everybody in the group gets the same grade. If you don't do groups here, you have peer reviews as an option. This allows students to peer review each other. You can choose to manually assign the peer reviews yourself. So you would then be presented with a screen where you can drag students' names over to other students you want them to check. That's pretty labor intensive. So most people just choose automatically assign peer reviews. And you could say, okay, I want each person to be reviewed by 2. So you have reviews per user. So each person has to review 2 other papers. And I can assign the reviews, and you probably want to assign the reviews the day after the due date. Or if you leave this blank, it's going to use the due date that you have. So if something's due on the 15th, well, I want them to assign their peer reviews on today so that they have 3 days to do their peer reviews. Lastly, down here, you have the ability to make the peer reviews anonymous so that students don't know the other students who reviewed them. You can do anonymous grading, but this really only works anonymous grading if you have a huge course and you have like several TAs, and you don't want the students to know which TA graded them, that kind of thing. That's pretty much why you would use graders, cannot view student names. But if, for say, you're doing a paper as well, and this is basically for removing grader bias, right? So as an instructor, we all have our, like our students that we know because they talk more in the class and we interact with them, or they've come to office hours, that kind of thing. So there could be some recognition there when you see whose student, what paper it is. So if you want to avoid that, or you want your TAs to avoid that, you can click this box here, and inside your Speedgrader, it would just show up as student 1, student 2, student 3. You wouldn't actually know whose paper you're grading at the time, or your TAs would not know whose paper they are grading at the time. So the last option you have as far as grading goes,
can I interrupt
instructor.
Cassidy, can I interrupt?
Yeah.
Okay, so someone is asking, can you set up a peer review for a presentation that does not have an uploaded assignment?
So no, if you would, depending on the option you choose, like if you take off file here, there has to be something for them to review. You could have the students upload their PowerPoints, and that just gives them something to tag onto, and they can review their presentations, but there needs to be something there for the students to be able to get to. So there has to be something.
Also, do peer reviews substitute for a grade?
No, currently peer reviews cannot be graded, so you can't grade the paper and grade the peer reviews. Right now, it's the peer reviews are just for the paper themselves, and you as an instructor have to give the final grade for that. I do know that Canvas is working on ability to have multiple grades, like you can give a grade and the peer reviewers can give a grade at a different date, but that's not something that we can do right now. When you go into Speedgrader later, you'll see the peer reviewers' suggested comments and grades. You can accept their grades, or you can moderate it and put in a grade yourself. All right. So the last option down here is to make anonymous the annotations that you do as an instructor. If you are team teaching or have multiple instructors or multiple TAs, that kind of thing, or sorry, multiple instructors, you can click this, and any annotations you do on the paper, and I'll show you that later, would be anonymous. Right now, if it's just you teaching in the class, when you annotate the paper, like circle something or highlight something on the paper, it'll say whatever your note says, it'll say bye and then your name. So if you don't want your name to show up, or if you have multiple teachers, you don't want everybody's name to show up, you can anonymize those things. All right, the last little bit down here to assignment is the default here is to assign to everyone. This is everyone in the class. If you click on this box here, you can assign to different sections. So if you have cross-listed and you want to assign this assignment for a due date for your Monday, Wednesday class, and then you want to have a different due date for your Tuesday, Thursday class, you can do that. So if I choose section here and get rid of the everyone else, so it's only currently to the section 2, I could say, okay, well, they're going to be due on Tuesday, the 19th, because they're my Tuesday, Thursday class. And then I would say add and come down here and choose the other section and say, well, that's my Monday, Wednesday class. So they're actually due on Monday, the 18th. So that's how you could assign different assignments, different due dates to different sections if you have your course cross-listed. You can also do this, like say, for example, you have an athlete who is going to be out that Friday with an excused absence. So you want to give them one extra day to do their homework. You can start typing their name, or you can go down here to the student list and pick them from the list, and you can give them a different day. So if it's normally due on the 19th, you want to give them an extra couple of days. You can make them due to the 21st. And then what you do is come down here and choose everyone. And notice it says everyone else. And then you would choose the original due date. So everybody else is due on the 18th. And Lane, who's got an excused absent, is due on the 21st. So that's how you do multiple due dates with the same assignment. Let's get into the availability dates. So here you have your due date. This is when the assignment is due. Available from means when is the assignment available for students to click on. Now, if the assignment's published, they'll see the assignment, but if it's not available, they can't actually get into it yet. So I can say, if this is going to be due on, let's say, let me set the due date for Friday the 22nd, and I want them to give them from Monday, starting on Monday morning, that's when they can first get into this assignment. Now, the until date is important because this is when the assignment closes. It doesn't necessarily, the due date, you can choose whatever you want. It can match the due date if you want it to, or if you choose to accept late assignments, you can choose a longer due date. But you can set policies on your late assignments as well. In the grade book, you can say anything that's late will get actually 80% of what they would have gotten if they had turned it in on time. So you can set that policy in your gradebook, but the until date will let you take late assignments. So if this is due on the 22nd, and I say, well, I'll give them the weekend and I'll accept late assignments, then you can do that. You can choose to match the due date if you want, and that way it closes down. So these days here are basically when is this assignment available to be clicked on at all, and when is the assignment closed down to where they can't click on it at all. Okay. So everything is done here. Now I have the last options down here are save and publish and save. If I just click save, then that means only I can see it. It's sort of in a draft mode, right? The students can't see it yet because it's not published. If I'm finished and I think the assignment's ready to go, I can close save and publish, and they won't have access until the 18th anyway. So those are the different options here. Publish means the students can see it. Save means only you can see it. So if I click save here, and I didn't put any upload here, so it's going to yell at me. Hang on. If I click save, then my assignment has been created, and you notice it is not published. So I would have to publish it before the students can see it. If I want to come back here and edit it, I simply click the edit button. I would get the exact same options as I did before. And down here, if you want to add a rubric, you can add a grading rubric to this. If you're doing peer review, the rubrics will be available to the peers for their peer review. So if I
interrupt?
Rubric.
May I interrupt?
Yep.
Okay. Back on the deduction of points. Will Canvas deduct points for each day late? It's a gradebook thing, but
No, just late in general.
late in general. Okay. And if we use save and publish, but it's a future start date, from the student's perspective, it's not published until the start date.
No, it is published, which means they'll see that the assignment is there and it's coming up. But when they try and click on it, they can't get into it until it's available. All right. For rubrics, there's a lot of options here, so I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. But in order to create a rubric, you'll want to give it some kind of title up here that you can remember later. If you've already created a rubric in another course or in a previous course, say last year or something, you can say find rubric, and you'll get a list of your own rubrics that you've created in the past, and you can just reuse that rubric. If you need to create a new one, this is how you would do it. So you have your grading criteria. Basically, this is the description of how they're going to be graded. Let's say like grammar, and you can have a whole description of what grammar means to you and how they're going to be graded. You would click the pencil icon here, and you can fill that information out. If you don't want this one at all, you can hit the delete trash can, and you can do that too. Range allows you to do a range of numbers. So if I do this, notice this one's turned into 5 to 0. And I can fill this out in as much detail as I want. If I wanted to make this one 20 points and say update rating, now I have this huge gap between 20 and 0. If I want to put something in the middle, I hit the little plus, and there's my 10 points, and this is my medium score. And you can type in a long description if you want, and I can update that. So now I have 20, 10, and 0. You can keep going as much as you want. As much you can go, you can put all 20 in there, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, all the way down. You could create just 20, 10, and 0, and you can say range. And now you've got 20 to 10 and 10 to 0 as options in here. And if I add something in between, it'll adjust for you. So if I say 15, I can say update here. And so now my range will change from 20 to 15, 15 to 10, and 10 to 0. To keep it more fair, I want to put in a 5 and just call it and update it there. And then there is our options. You can also type anything you want into this box. If you don't do a range, when you go to grade, if you click on this box, they get a 15. If you click on this box, they get a 10. But you can type whatever you want in the box. So you can type in a 7 and it'll accept it. When it comes, and you can be as advanced as you want. And the good part is you don't have to do this over and over. You can come down here when you add your next criteria, and you have the option to create a whole new criteria, or I can duplicate the one I've already created. So if I duplicate it, it'll be there, and I can just say update, And now I've got 2 of them, and I don't have to recreate all those pluses and all those ranges again. All I have to do is edit the description here, and I can keep doing that on and on. Now you'll notice that I've only got it worth 40 points here, and my whole thing was worth 100. If I were to create rubric, Canvas would give me a dialog box that says, hey, your rubric doesn't add up to the points that you said it was worth, and you have the option to say, leave it that way, or wait, let me fix it. Down here, you have all these options here, and they're all kind of a personal preference. But if you're definitely using this for grading, you want to go ahead and click the box that says, I'm using this for grading, and create the rubric. If I say create, there I get that warning, and I can say leave it different. Oh, wait, let me change it, and I can change it. You can come in here to the rubric when it's all done and click the pencil icon to edit it. And that's fairly consistent throughout Canvas, the little pencil icon. Or you can trash the rubric entirely. If, like, say you did find a rubric and it was the wrong one, you can say delete and OK, and you can start over with the rubric. And we just have a few minutes left, so I'm just going to show you real quick what the Speedgrader looks like, so you're not surprised by it if you have never seen it before. If I click on an assignment that I've already got a submissions for, I can see Speedgrader over here. And inside Speedgrader, you can cycle through your students with these little arrows up here at the right. And whenever they have a particular assignment, you will get the assignment listed, preview over here. All these markings here are annotations that you can do from up here, highlighting and bubbles, write your own text, circle things, draw a square around stuff, all that good stuff is annotations. And the students will be able to see all of these annotations as necessary. You also have the ability over here to the right-hand side to download this particular assignment, grade it. If you have a rubric on this assignment, you click View Rubric. You can drag this little bar over so you can see more of the rubric, and you can pick a box like that, or you can simply type into the box what they got. And don't forget to save the rubric, as that would actually be their score. So now that I saved it, you can see that there's a 3 there and who did it and what they actually got. Down here, you can submit comments. So you can say things like nice work and submit it. Students will also see those comments as well as the annotations. And students can reply to your comments. So they could ask questions and comment back and forth, and you can have it back and forth. You have the ability to attach documents or things to your comments. So you could, you could reference a PDF and attach it here. Or if it's you've got a, like, especially in foreign language classes where you're talking back and forth, you could record yourself giving a comment, and that would be, you could talk back to them in French so that their comments are in French.
Cassidy?
Yes, sir.
We're at 10 minutes till.
Yep.
Okay.
The last thing I'll say about Speedgrader is you can see where you are, 8 out of 12. Here's the average score for the things that you have graded. And you can click on the down arrow here to see those that you have graded and those that you have not graded here. So that's a quick overview of Speedgrader and what it will look like when you're doing assignments. All right. We are right about time. I think we have time for maybe like one question or two. If you have more questions after this, please reach out to your ATSD. They can definitely answer questions about assignments and gradebook for you. But for the sake of time, I want to thank everybody for showing up today, for coming and listening to me ramble on about assignments and a little bit about gradebook. I hope I've been able to answer most of your questions.